All right, welcome to If I Was a Betting Man. I'm John Tyler, joined by always by Vinny Buono, who is absolutely buzzing with excitement because the Knicks have made the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. What an exciting week for Vinny. And we're going to talk about that in depth. But before we do, I would like to welcome our guest for this week, Mr. John Layfield, the host of the Have More Money Now podcast and the host of the Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast. JBL.
How you doing, guys?
Great.
Doing great.
Welcome to the show.
It's an honor to be here. I couldn't think of a more apropos name for me if I were a betting man. I don't have a problem not betting. I have a problem betting. I was a problem. I enjoy it, so I really don't want to get over it.
Right. Well, that's the way both of us have the same issue.
For sure.
We don't want to get over it.
No.
So let's talk about your betting. You're a big baseball. You really like the wagers on baseball. So today alone, how many bets have you placed today?
I can show you right now. I've got very high-tech graphics, by the way. I do these myself.
Great.
People find this hard to believe that I do these myself, but I have my Twitter, my X, at five best bets. But I do my graphics myself. So there are your bets today, which is actually fantastic. A slower day. And I can show you this because I'm real good with graphics. There are my bets from yesterday. So quite a few more yesterday.
That's every game.
Yeah, I love prop bets. I'm good. I'm good this month, so I don't want to spike the football too much because betting has a way of, as the Iron Sheik would say, humiliating you. So I don't want to spike the football too much, but I've been really good on prop bets this month. I'm not quite as good on sides and totals. Never really have been. Nerfies, I love those freaking things, but that's just a crapshoot. But I'm pretty good with prop bets. A lot of times I'll have 2 or 3 prop bets a game.
So, and I see you love overs on everything from out totals for pitching. You like betting overs on strikeouts. I see you like betting unders when the Mets are involved.
That was a cheap shot right there. Cheap shot.
They suck, don't they? I had Mets tickets a couple of years when I lived in New York, and both years they lost the playoffs, typical Mets fashion, the last game of the year. Whatever those 2 years were back-to-back were the years I had Mets tickets with Brian Gewirtz. We go up to the games and just watch them all year long. And this is our year, this is our year, this is our year. Of course, It wasn't.
I've been saying that for 40 years, John. I actually took the Mets tonight, but I'm sure they'll blow it in the ninth.
And you're right about the overs. I bet too many overs, like too many squares out there do, which I am. But I've started realizing that the books are starting to over-adjust, especially with pitcher outs. And I've started taking some unders, especially with just over-inning clean things. You mentioned the Mets, new pitching coach this year. They tend to pull pitchers. He does tend to pull pitchers at the end of innings, not necessarily on pitch count. So you'll see in 5 innings and see 6 innings. You won't see like 5.1, 5.2 innings a lot of times, especially with the Mets. And so regardless of pitch count, whether it's 75 or 100 pitches, it doesn't really matter. He'll pitch them at a certain moment that he feels in the game that is a clean break. And so I've been betting a lot of unders, a lot for me, unders as far as pitcher outs, especially when it's like 15.5 outs or 18.5 outs.
Sometimes it does take the books a month or two to get adjusted to the reality, but that month can be a great month. And I think your numbers for the last month are 205 out of 305 bets. Is that right?
It is, yeah. I'm on a heck of a roll right now.
Yeah, I guess so. And your bets on the Yankee game, you bet the Nerfy, which is no runs first inning. You bet over 4.5 strikeouts for Garrett Cole in his second start of the season, which he got handily in the second inning, and I think the second batter of the second inning. And what else did you bet?
The over, I think 17.5 outs, I think it was for Cole.
17.5 outs.
He's going to cover that, and then I bet the Yankees on the money line. Cole had pitched well in his warm-up starts. I took the over strikeout last game just for complete transparency here, and I lost that. He only had 2 strikeouts. I figured he'd do. A 4.5 is way too low for a Garrett Cole that's anything close to normal.
Exactly, but we didn't even know how normal he was going to be. So to me, in hindsight, it looks really smart. To me, I don't know if I would have done that at the beginning, but I mean, you obviously nailed it. The other thing that I thought was interesting is, it's his second start, 17 and a half outs, going with the over. That stood out to you right away?
Yeah, it did. I don't know what he went last time. 5 innings, I believe it was,
Yep.
and he only had 72 pitches. I think
Yep.
it was somewhere around that total. I figured he'd go around 80 to 90 pitches
Yep.
this time, so I figured he would probably get there. I looked at his the batting percentage of the team against him. It was not great as far as the team.
Right.
It was great for him. I figured he'd have an easy way to get to that sixth inning. That's what I was guessing with the handicap.
So let me ask you this: Do you watch baseball all the time, or are you just going over spreadsheets, looking at numbers?
Both. Yeah, both. I enjoy watching the game. I enjoy trying to learn about players. It's baseball is a numbers game. Guys who worked on Wall Street, guys who like bridge, they love baseball. But the thing they miss is the impact of the game itself. It's kind of like the analytics versus coaching debate that's going on everywhere right now. About how much analytics
100%.
should be factored in. Obviously, analytics is a tool. It's like AI. I've used a lot of AI. AI is not that good by itself. AI is a wonderful tool that you can use. So I do look at games. I just noticed Tampa Bay, who I bet a bunch. My buddy just told me Gerald Briscoe, the WWE Hall of Famer, my good friend, said Tampa Bay had the night off in New York or somewhere. He goes, bet against them the next night. Said, sure enough, it's like the NBA South Beach,
100%.
handicap. It's very much the same. So I like seeing, whether it's a bobblehead night, whether a player's being retired. How does a player respond to having a bad game the last time? Does Judge get called a bum by the New York Post? How does he respond? He usually responds very well. So I do factor in a lot of, emotional stuff that goes into the game as far as the players, but a lot of it's just numbers. So I do watch a lot of the games.
You are plugged in. I used to be. That's how I got involved with betting. Is I just watched everything. I started with football. I watched every game. It was with Vinny, my co-host here. Both of us would sit every Sunday and watch every single game. And
isn't that awesome?
It's the best, And
I love it. There's nothing worse than not having day baseball. It's like, what the hell? Is something wrong with the world? What are you guys mad at?
Exactly.
And I don't care if it's a problem or not. There's nothing better than having money on a game.
100%. Yeah. Forget about the Strait of Hormuz. Forget about all the problems. If we don't have day baseball, there's a problem.
I agree. That is a solid point. So the other wrinkle is you are a all-time Hall of Fame household name wrestler. I know my co-host Vinny is a diehard fan. I never really found an entry point into wrestling. But I know Vinny's got a ton of questions he's dying to ask you. We're definitely going to talk more gambling because that's what we're here for. That's the name of the game. But
let me tell you a quick gambling story about one of the first times I saw a high roller was Gorilla Monsoon. I don't know, Vinny, how much you know about Gorilla. He wrestled, I believe he wrestled the Novogratz dad, I believe, and I believe that's right, in college. In fact, their dad's going into the Hall of Fame. Mike Novogratz, who we're talking about, are great guys who do wonderful things with Beat the Street in New York. They fund the inner city wrestling, do some wonderful things up there. But I was in Vegas and I didn't have any money. I mean, no money at all. And so I'm staying in a real shitty place out by the edge of town. They didn't have a casino, didn't have nothing. It's like a red roof top, really bad place. Gorilla Monsoon comes up to me and says, "Hey, where are you and Ron Simmons staying?" And I didn't want to tell him because we didn't have any money. And he said, "Well, I'm leaving, so why don't you guys go stay with my place at Caesars?" And he had a freaking gambling suite. And it's the same joke I used earlier, everything but Mike Tyson's Tiger. I mean, we didn't want to leave. I mean, I've never been to a place that nice in my life, but Gorilla was a massive gambler. Always had $10,000 in his pocket. He's one of the old school guys that always had money with him. But he was a massive gambler. One of the first I'd really seen that was a real high roller.
Yep. That's incredible. I've spent some time in Vegas, and I've found myself at a poker table I shouldn't be sitting at. And man, watching people, start throwing the chips around, and me going, well, if he makes one more bet, my bankroll is done. But standing back and watching, the $10,000 chips fly.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And to
It
realize
really
what's
is.
behind it, to realize that is actually $10,000. You know, it's different when you're playing on your craps table at home. You know, it's just for practice. You got your friends over. But
Yep.
when you realize that $10,000 chip actually has $10,000 behind it, that's a different level.
And plus, then you see the hand and you go, that was worth 10 grand.
Right. Right.
That's fun.
When you finally decide to double down on blackjack, you put more than you should, and the dealer draws an ace, and you draw a 6, and you're going, somebody does not want me at this table.
Exactly. I was supposed to double down on that. Now I'm out of money. I've been there. So, just going back to the wrestling. Actually, how did you get started with the wrestling? You had a slow start, as I believe most wrestlers do. Working your way up, not making a lot of money, and just grinding it out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I played a little pro football, very little, but I was playing in the World Football League, the World League of American Football. Was
with Jason Garrett, is that right?
Yes, sir. Jason was our quarterback, and was right before. In fact, I saw him on a flight. I was flying from somewhere in Florida. I think it was Tallahassee to Dallas. Was one of the last times I saw him, and I said, Jason, I hadn't seen him in years, and I said, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to Dallas. I said, for what? He goes, I'm trying to get in the coaching job. And Undertaker was on the flight with me. I said, come over, meet Jason Garrett, played football with him down in San Antonio. So we both asked him, said, what job are you going for? Because his dad was a scout at the Cowboys. I figured he was going to be a scout or something. I've been in wrestling. We're wrestling 300 nights a year. I'm not watching TV. I don't know, what he's doing. And he goes, well, the head job. No, not like Tom Landry. No, stop it. And sure enough, he became the head coach, and I thought he did a great job. I thought he's a great offensive coordinator also. He's a wonderful human being.
I have to say, he had a long run. I think, it's tough working for Jerry Jones down there, but he had a long run in Dallas, and then he's great on Football Night in America.
Jason's a very smart
impressed.
guy. His brother played with us also, and his other brother played, I think, with the London Monarchs. He's from a very athletic family, but all went to Princeton. And so, I couldn't have me and Ron Simmons wouldn't be allowed on the Princeton grounds, much less the classroom.
So anyway, to go back, you were grinding it out. You started, so after your football career?
Yeah, I got lucky. Back then, you had to know who to train with, and I didn't know anybody in the business, and that was way before the internet. And there was a guy, Randy Thornton, a guy that had wrestled in Minnesota, that had wrestled some in Japan, that was playing on our team. Was a linebacker, and I knew he had wrestled, and I got cut my third year. And when I asked Randy before that, I said, "Hey, how do you get into wrestling? I'd like to be a wrestler." And because I knew I had knee injuries, and I don't know if it's that or lack of talent, one of the two, but one of them was going to get me out of football. And he said, you got to have the right trainer. So when I got cut, I called Randy and I said, hey, who was your trainer? And he said, Brad Reingens up in Minnesota. Brad was the 1980 Greco-Roman world champion. He trained Vader. He trained the Road Warriors. I mean, trained Brock Lesnar. I mean, he's one of the best trainers in the world, along with, say, guys like Billy Robinson and Hiro Matsuda back in the day, Carl Gotch. Brad was on that level. And because I trained with Brad, I got jobs everywhere. I came down to Texas my first day. I had my bag with me, and James Beard, the Hall of Fame referee, met me at the door of Sportatorium. And he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I want a job. And he said, well, are you a wrestler? I said, well, I don't know if I am or not, but I've been trained. And he said, who trained you? I said, Brad Reingens. He goes, Brad Reingens trained you? And they had a no-show that day for the main event, and they put me in the main event against the champion. My very first match went 20 minutes with Rod Price, who was a terrific worker. But it's all because of Brad Reingens. I come back from the ring. Kendo Nagasaki was there. He goes, hey, Brad Reingens trained you? And I said, yeah. Now, he didn't know I couldn't wrestle. He just know Brad had trained me. And he said, you come Japan. I said, what? Sure. I had no idea. How hard it was in Japan. I'm over in Japan like 2 months later, tagging with Bob Orton Jr., who was in WrestleMania 1 main event. I mean, I had a crazy career. A lot of it was just luck because of Brad.
Wow.
And then I ended up in Europe, the same reason, because of Brad. Otto Vance was the booker in Europe. Best job I ever had up until WWE. And Larry Cameron had died in the ring in Bremen, Germany the year before. And apparently something suspicious had happened because none of the Americans went back. So Otto needed a whole new crew. Jimmy Suzuki, the Japanese reporter, is sitting in Otto's office. I'd sent pictures. I'd sent videos. How I got hired was Jimmy looks, he goes, oh, I know John. He's a good boy, trained by Brad Reingens. And
wow.
Otto says, okay, I take him. And that was it. That's how I got hired. So I was there about 2 years and then got picked up with WWE. So, yeah, I put a lot of lot of time around the globe and not making much money.
I mean, that's incredible. So then you started with WWE. You had to start. Did you have to start at the bottom? Start working.
You know, nobody knew me when I came over from WWE. I'd been there 2 years working in Europe. I'd worked in Japan a lot, some during that time, but I spent 2 years working in Europe. And back then, you know, it was, you know, we lived in the caravans like the gypsies, and
right.
You know, the gypsies were, you know, in some of the same campgrounds as us, but you know, they weren't part of what we did. But anyway, I did live very similar to a gypsy, and I got called from WWE, but I had a deal waiting for me at WCW also. They had heard about me. They wanted to sign me. I went through the WWE and had a tryout match with Savio Vega, the right guy. He's a terrific wrestler, great human being. And when I came back, Vince McMahon had not seen it, but Gerald Briscoe had. And Briscoe told Vince said, hey, we need to sign this kid. He's going down to WCW. Vince goes, okay, sign him. Vince had never even seen me. He didn't see my match or anything. So when I came in, no one knew me. And they didn't plan on signing me. So I was just kind of extra. You know, I was on every show the first year. I was on every pay-per-view opening match, but I was on the main show. And so, you know, I did struggle, but it wasn't really because, I don't know, maybe it's a lack of talent, but it's also just the fact that nobody knew me. And all of a sudden they ended up with this asset that they didn't really know what they wanted to do with it.
Interesting. So then how do you stand out? That's a tough place to stand out. A lot of people that are very motivated. Everybody's got to work their way. It's a lot of work from what I've seen. Constant effort and waiting. And some people never get their shot, and some people never get their chance.
Yeah, some people never become champion that are terrific wrestlers. You know, Rick Rude was never a world champion. Ted DiBiase was never a world champion. Dustin Rhodes, Scott Hall. I mean, these guys all deserve to be world champions. Roddy Piper was never a world champion. You know, these guys all had the ability and should have been world champions. You know, so I got kind of lucky. I'd been there for a couple years, and all of a sudden they decided to stick me with Ron Simmons just because we were friends. And Ron, for those that don't know, was the first black heavyweight champion in wrestling history. Ron was a 3-time All-American at Florida State. He was actually runner-up for the Heisman Trophy as a nose tackle. And and he's in every freaking Hall of Fame there is. He's just a grown man, just a man. And Ron and I were good friends. They stuck us together as a tag team. And I understood why they had nothing to do with nothing for me, but they had nothing really for Ron, which I don't understand to this day. And the tag team just clicked and worked. And it was the best thing ever happened to me, both professionally and personally, because Ron, you know, to this day is still, you know, what I consider my best friend.
That's amazing.
And
great story.
And the Attitude Era wouldn't have been the same without APA. I mean,
it probably would have been. We certainly had a lot of fun. It was, God Almighty, it was wild.
I mean, those segments in the back, you guys playing poker, just amazing.
We got every celebrity integration that came through. You know, they all wanted to work, you know, do something with us because they couldn't really do anything in the ring. So that they wanted to do something. So they all got this. We got Rebecca Romaine, LL Cool J, Mr. T, you name it. They all came through us and got to sit down with us and have some beers. And Rebecca Romaine was one of the best. She was really hot. She's, you know, I say hot as a star. I'm not being, don't want to talk about her look. She's a very beautiful lady, but I was saying hot as a star. I don't want to say anything that's inappropriate for a beautiful lady like that. But she sat down with us, and then I said, "Hey, you want us to get you a can? We'll put some water in." She goes, "No, I'm fine." Well, the scene took like 3 or 4 times. She downed 3 or 4 beers. I'm like, this is the perfect woman, the absolute perfect woman.
Right.
And she was fine. She apparently she could handle herself.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. So you got to hang out with all these celebrities. You're, you know, basically, you also get to go out and get booed every night. Is that right? As the heel, you were
not as much with the APA. The APA, you know, we were just kind of 2 brawlers that drank a lot of beer and took money from people to beat people up. And believe it or not, during the Attitude Era, that was the baby face. That was the good guys. It was,
really?
You know, everything was just the opposite. You know, things changed back in the 80s when Rambo came out and Clint Eastwood started wearing the black hat. You know, the good guy became the anti-hero, you know, and so that's where Stone Cold came along. Magnum TA was kind of first down in the Carolinas, but then Stone Cold came along and just hit it hot. I mean, when I got there in '95, we had a roster that was ridiculous how good it was. We had Bret Hart, we had Scott and Kevin, the 2 guys who went down and formed the NWO down in WCW. All part of our roster, one roster, and we couldn't draw any money. You know, we had guys in the wrong gimmicks. You know, we had Kane was a dentist, Triple H was an aristocrat, Stone Cold was a ringmaster. You know, and we had some of the greatest matches you've ever seen, but nobody saw them because we weren't selling any tickets. And then all of a sudden,
man.
NWO got hot first, but then Stone Cold got hot, and anything you put his name on, we sold out. It could be a freaking building and somewhere in Tasmania. It didn't matter. If you put Stone Cold Steve Austin on that billboard, we sold it out. It was an unbelievable time. And so I got to work with some of the then The Rock comes along, same thing. It was just unreal to have stars like that. And I got to work with so much incredible talent during that time.
Man, that's incredible. That's incredible that they had Kane as a dentist. What?
Isaac Yankem. Yeah, oh my
Isaac
God, it's the
Yankem.
worst thing ever.
Isaac Yankem.
Kane and I were tag team partners in Bremen, Germany together. I think it was Bremen or Hanover. It may have been Hanover, Germany. We were there for like 6 or 8 weeks together. We were the Zwei Meter und Zwei tag team, the 2-meter tag team. And he went to WWE, and I thought, man, that's awesome. He's going to do great because, he had all the ability in the world. Plus, he's this monster of a man and a really smart guy. And he got there, and they put him in that dentist gimmick. I'm like, oh, my God. Who did he piss off? That was horrible. And what scared me was when I went to meet Vince for the first time, I'd never met him, and his presence, is pretty overwhelming, as anybody who's met him will tell you. And he walks in, and I'm really debating whether I should have gone to WCW because I had not met Vince, and I had a guaranteed money deal from WCW. It wasn't much, like 75 to 85,000 or something like that, but I'd never made 75 or 85,000 in my life. Mm-hmm. And the deal for WWE was they guaranteed you 10 matches a year at $150 each is what they guaranteed you. So it was 100% upside. And I'm sitting there thinking, what if they don't use me? Like, what if they don't? I mean, it's just, I'm nervous. I'm thinking, have I really made a big mistake? Plus, I got to go back and tell my community banker father that I just took a $1,500 deal over guaranteed $75,000 when I owed him a lot of money. So, from college and everything.
Yeah.
And Vince walks in, he goes, I have this idea in that baritone voice. He goes, I'm gonna make you into a heel ballerina. A ballerina.
No.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and I'm trying to not register this. Like, how do I get out of this building? Because I realized Kane had been a dentist. I'm like, holy shit, he's doing the same thing to me. Like, this is really bad. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, oh my God, what a mistake I've made. Can I still call WCW and get this back? I don't know what. And then he just started laughing. He goes, ha 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 ha.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. What a great story. Oh, man.
So, John, I know you were with APA, a big face, but I think personally, 2004, 2005, that heel run you had is one of the best heel runs of all time. You had some amazing matches against Guerrero, Taker, Big Show, even a last man standing match against Kurt Angle. I want to know, where do you rank that heel turn, in terms of all heel turns and in terms of all heel runs? And what are the top heel runs of all time, do you believe?
Oh, I don't want to rank myself at all because there's no way I'm unbiased, and I come across like an egotistical asshole if I put myself in the top 5. I hope I can say that. As I say when somebody says on my podcast, can you say it? Well, yeah, you just did. So I think the greatest heels ever. That's a great question. I think Gorgeous George was probably the greatest heel of all time. He said he sold more TV sets than Milton Berle. They called him Georgie sets. He sold so many TV sets. He was so different. And he helped James Brown. He helped Muhammad Ali create his whole entire shtick. Angelo Dundee and Muhammad Ali have given him credit for that. Gorgeous George really changed the world when he came along was that first really – he was a feminine heel, but it doesn't matter. He was just a different type of heel that he was. The first great heel was Yusuf Ismail back in the 1900s. The Terrible Turk, they called him. And he drew tons and tons. I mean, thousands of people. He's the first xenophobic heel that came in. Then I think when you rank the guys in the later years, I think Vince McMahon was a terrific heel. Sure. I think Roddy Piper was a great heel. Freddie Blassie was a terrific heel. I mean, there's been some terrific. I just had saw Nikita Koloff the other day in the Carolinas. There was nobody hotter than Nikita Koloff when he was the Russian heel.
Right.
It was funny because they told Barry Darsow, who's part of Demolition, he goes, man, they got this Russian guy. He's a legit Russian guy. in the Carolinas, and he's a nasty dude. I mean, he's a legit nasty dude. And when Barry saw a picture of him, he goes, "I went to high school with him at Robbinsdale." I'm pretty sure he's not Russian. But Nikita was a terrific heel. There have been some really good heels over the years. NWO was a good heel. Hogan had a great heel turn. I mean, there's been some terrific heels throughout the years. Now, there hasn't been terrific heels like throughout, every generation. People always say now that, man, we need like 15 or 20 Shawn Michaels. We didn't have 15 or 20. We had one. And when you have a good heel, Roddy Piper always told me few guys really want to be a true heel, because when you're a true heel, I mean, you walk to the airport, you get called names, it's just you're a heel 24/7 when you're a true heel, and a lot of guys just simply don't want that in any generation. So Every generation only has 1 to 3 guys that really want to be a solid heel and be a true heat magnet. But there have been some terrific ones throughout the years. Wow. I got lucky. I had the right guy. I had Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was, for those that don't know, most popular Latino star of all time, one of the most popular stars of all time. Forget about just Latino and pigeonholing him into one category, one of the most popular stars of all time. And I had the right guy. Vince McMahon needed somebody to wrestle Eddie at the Staples Center coming up. And he called me and he goes, "Hey, you still want to do?" I thought it was like a J.R. Ewing type character. Vince never saw it that way. I don't know how he saw it. I never asked him, but he saw it differently. And for those that don't know, it was a J.R. Ewing type that was a stock market guy instead of an oil guy, but definitely a bad guy. And because I had Eddie Guerrero, it was just the right mix. You had the right guy with the right immigrant type personality.
Yes.
That I could be this xenophobic, guy that was, oh my God, I'd love to wrestle now when Ice was so popular. Because I got run out of El Paso. I had to have a police escort leaving El Paso. They took me to the city limit sign. I wrestled Eddie in his hometown and on Mother's Day, and he was honoring his late father. And I gave his mother a heart attack. It just happened. She was 74 years old. She had a heart attack. Now, I may or may not have grabbed her, but that's beside the point. The police took me all the way to the city limit sign and said, "Do not come back. We think he'll be killed." And so they made me drive all the way to Odessa.
Incredible.
It was several years later that we were going to go back to El Paso, and they said, "We don't think it's safe for John to go back to El Paso." And so it was several years that I still could not go back. Now, Eddie passed away, unfortunately, at a very young age, and I did his eulogy, or at least part of his eulogy. And now it's just the opposite. Now I see a group of Hispanics, instead of going, cabron, it's pinche cabron, cussing at me, they're like, "Hey, it's Eddie's friend." Now it's But my wife used to fly with me, through airports and stuff, and you'd see a group of Hispanics or Latinos or wrestling fans. You could hear them all cussing me, especially the ones in Spanish. She go, "What's all that?" Nothing. That mistaken.
Man,
but I used to have extra security. I had to have. Vince McMahon told me, said, "If we can keep you alive, we're going to draw a lot of money with you." And I said, "Are you really worried about me or the money?" And
yeah, exactly.
"Do you want me to answer that?" "No, I don't. I really
don't." Man, that's incredible. Boy, that's some high stakes stuff you got going on there. You're playing a role, you're doing a great job at it, and the result is animosity in the airport.
Oh, it was unreal. One of the first matches I had after that video aired of his mother having the heart attack.
Yeah,
because we filmed it from security cameras, like it was from security
Made
cameras.
It look so real.
So it looked legit.
Right.
And a guy tried to jump in the ring, and Essie was like, "Good heat, Essie, good heat." Well, we were there a few days later. Another guy tried to get in the ring, and Eddie went after him. Eddie was a real hothead. I mean, we never had a crossword, but he was a real hothead. And he goes, "That guy just screwed up our match." I'm going, "Eddie, he's coming after me. I really don't think that this crowd, which is 99% Hispanic here in San Bernardino, is going to understand the Mexican babyface beating up the fan. Please let me take care of him, okay?"
Oh man!
But by then, little Hebner, it was Earl Hebner's son, wonderful guy. I had turned into a Ray Guy or Pat McAfee and had almost kicked his head off. So it was taken care of. The problem the guys make when they climb in the ring is they have to climb in the ring, and guys who aren't used to it stick their head through first, and that's when really bad things happen.
Wow. I mean, those are some crazy stories. It just sounds so intense to have to, you're doing this as your job, and then it invades every aspect of your life.
But that heat brings money.
Right. Well,
It does. And, some guys are not comfortable with that, especially being the heel all the time,
Right.
because that's what, in my opinion, really draws money. Guys that are, guys that are what they are 24/7 draw money, the Paul brothers. I think Jake Paul is a very tough guy. I'm not sure he can be a top 5 boxer, but he can make $100 million fighting one. And because no matter if that character is a character or if it's actually him, it doesn't matter. He stays that way 24/7. If he came out like a lot of these guys want to do, and because they really don't want the heat, and they come out and say, "Oh, you know what? That was just me building up a fight. I don't hate the guy. I don't like that." He doesn't do that. He stays in character. Conor McGregor did the same thing. Muhammad Ali did the same thing. Floyd Mayweather did the same thing. He almost caused a riot over in England when he was fighting Ricky Fatton, as he called him, instead of Ricky Hatton. I mean, that's a ballsy guy, but few guys really want to carry that heat like that. They want to, at the end of it, say, "Oh, no, that was just part of the show."
Right.
Muhammad Ali never did that. Guys that really draw money are either stay in character or either it's not a character 24/7.
Exactly. It's not a character. Right.
Correct.
Exactly.
It may not be a character.
Man, some great stories from your wrestling career. So switch gears a little bit back to gambling. So you like to you're very prolific. So many bets every day, and let's give the listeners and the watchers your Twitter handle.
Yeah, it's at 5 best bets.
At 5 best bets.
At 5 best bets. Yeah.
I mean, it's an immense amount of content, and I scrolled through for way longer. I didn't have that much time, but I looked at it for about an hour and 20 minutes going back just to see what you're looking at and, how much data you're going through in your brain to make these bets, because, if you're making sort of granular bets on, pitch totals, inning totals for pitchers. I mean, that's purely data-driven stuff. You can watch every game on TV and not place, what inning the pitchers are pulled in. So, that's some intense stuff to be taken a look at. But I mean, that's where I come from for sports too. That's was my entry point into gambling as well. So in that vein, is there anything that you're looking at as sort of a longer term bet over the course of a baseball season? For instance, like home run totals. Are you looking at division winners, anything like that?
I've not been as good with home run totals and player props. And I don't know if it's just because I'm not any good at it or because I think maybe it's because, like, say, hit runs and RBIs, it seems like something that would be pretty easy. You see how they match up with the pitcher. You see what kind of hot streak they're on right now and where they are batting in the order. They'll get more at bats. It seems pretty simple. For me, it's not. I've not been very good at it. And I think maybe it's because when you only have 4 to 5 at bats, you can have a lot of luck happen to you both ways. But when you have, say, 90 to 100 pitches, it kind of levels out the luck. I think that's what it is. That's why I don't do a lot of offensive player props. Mainly, I'm just not good at it. And I haven't done a lot of extended totals and things. I just, if I'm making 30 bets a day, I don't want to have another bet that would be out there unless it's really asymmetrical, unless it's like, a 20 to 1 bet or something. I really don't want to make that bet because I'm making so many bets a day that I don't want to sit and wait on a bet that I don't have the patience to do it. That's probably what it is. I'm not mature enough to make a long-term bet like that. I don't know how anybody beats the Dodgers. You talk about teams that step
exactly
up. And, they got swept by Colorado. They got swept last year by Pittsburgh. They just don't care sometimes. I mean, I just think they're so freaking good.
They don't.
When they play good teams, like when they play San Diego or they play the Braves, you see how good they are. And it is a different level. It's almost like you talk about, playoff basketball to normal basketball or anything else. When the Dodgers play a good team, you see how good they are. And good Lord, how would you like to face Mookie Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani and Muncy and those guys back to back? It's an incredible lineup. It's unbelievable. But I just don't think they play unless they have to. And I'll see how they could. It's 162 games. These are incredible stars. They've already won a couple championships. And I don't see how anybody beats the Dodgers. The Braves got the best record in the league right now. And I think the Braves might match up with them. They have terrific pitching. I think they got a shot to match up.
There's good value in betting on the Braves to win the World Series. But again, where's the value if they're going to eventually lose? It seems like the Dodgers have adopted sort of an NBA approach. coach in that as long as they get to the postseason, it doesn't matter. They're going to have
That's right.
everybody healthy for day one in the postseason and be ready to go win another World Series. But
Yeah.
right now the Braves are plus 1,000 to win the World Series.
Yeah, and that might be a great hedge. Buy the bet as a hedge, and wait till they get to the championship or get to the finals, and against the Dodgers, and then you realize that's when you cash in the hedge and cash it in for 50 cents on the dollar or something. That could be a really good bet to hedge it. I thought Dave Roberts, and I'm a huge fan of Dave Roberts, but I thought he made a mistake earlier in the year when he wasn't batting Ohtani when he was pitching. I mean, Ohtani's about the best hitter in the league. How do you take the best hitter in the league out of the lineup? I understand you're overusing him, but that's kind of the appeal of him, that he can do it. And now I see he's starting to bat him again, which I think is probably the right thing to do.
I think he was playing into shape a little bit. Ohtani approached this season by saying to everyone in the Dodgers organization, I'm going to win the Cy Young. And his ERA is 0.73 right now, so he's well on his way to doing that. But I mean, that's an incredible statement to make, and it's an incredible move for your organization to back you up on that. So it may have been Ohtani's choice to not hit the games he's pitching. They also have the luxury of having an extra pitcher on their roster because they don't count him as a pitcher. So basically they get to use an additional pitcher that no other team gets, and they have by far the best roster maybe ever assembled in the sport. It's kind of an incredible thing going on in Los Angeles right now.
Yeah, it is. And I've taken a bet, almost took it today, of 18.5 outs under on Ohtani. He's one of the ones that they're pitching out there pretty much goes at inning breaks, not at pitch count break. Sure. I didn't take it because you never know with Ohtani. It's just that's a crapshoot. He might go 8 innings and give up one hit. You just don't know. And it's tough for great players like that to take those bets.
Now, I agree, but that being said, I mean, you're the pitchers that you bet on just today, it's a lot of pitchers, and it's a lot of guys that aren't even necessarily on my radar. I don't have the bandwidth I used to have for sports. I have young kids, and it takes up a lot of my time in the evenings. But it's got to be really hard. How do you keep all of this straight? Do you go through what's your approach? How do you pick these pitchers? You just look at the starters and go from there?
Yeah, and like Ohtani today, I went through every stat he had. I took his under on walks the other day. I lost, but I thought it was a good bet. But there's not many good bets on Ohtani. The books, as you guys know better than me, they're not necessarily betting things. You're not putting lines that are necessarily good lines. They're putting lines that people want to bet.
Exactly.
And these Ohtani bets were massive. 7.5 strikeouts. Everything was, I thought, was just too much. I didn't think there was any value there. So I love finding Shigano, who was 2.5 strikeouts, who went over that several times. Michaelis today, they didn't start him like they said they were going to do. They put him in afterwards, what voided the bet. He was 27 of 31 on last year of over 2.5 strikeouts. I think he's 7 of 10 this year, 6 and 9, something like that. He had a bad first part of the year, and that's what kind of people remember. And now they're still pricing him as such. He's pitching much better now, but I can find value like that, or at least what I think is value. It's kind of like MAC football, compared to the SEC or something else, something that nobody really has a huge interest in. You can find some value. And that's kind of the reasons I look at some of these pitchers and see a pitcher with 2.5 strikeouts, and I try to figure out whether he should go over that today.
When I first got into betting, I bet college basketball mostly. And, that was my sport of choice. And the reason why was because they would have 5 lines that were dead accurate, basically the games that were on ESPN that night. And then there'd be 15 other games that would have all the exact same line. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, these all have the same over of, 170.
Right.
This doesn't make any sense. None of all these games are going to go under. What are they doing? And I just started betting it, and I have to say it worked for years, but now they've gotten wise. And, it takes them a few weeks usually to get the overs figured out with the rosters that have been assembled. Nobody can track the rosters in college sports right now, but, eventually they have it down incredibly accurate. I mean, it's really impressive how well they draw these lines. Across
the one thing you do in college
sports.
basketball a lot is, and I'm not very good at basketball. I'm much better with football and rugby and baseball, but basketball is just I'm not very good at it. Every year I think I'm going to get better at it, and I don't any year. So, but when you look at the first number, if that number is wrong, a lot of times the adjustment, especially if it's by computer, it makes it more wrong.
Yeah.
It exacerbates the imperfection, rather than try to correct it. A human will look at it. They always don't. And when you have 50 college games, you can find these games that aren't such big games. And if you see something that's wrong right away, and you realize the wrong team has been favored, somebody's out, or whatever that is, the live bet will become worse and worse and worse until they find a time to correct it. There's usually some live betting opportunities there from college basketball.
That's a great tip.
That's where I go most. I love the live bet. I love to be watching the game and seeing with my own eyes what's going on, and then putting my money on
because the adjustment is to the number that's wrong. And so if you have a number that's wrong at plus 12, whatever that number is, if you realize the wrong team is actually favored, that plus 12 just becomes exacerbated even more imperfection than it is corrected until a human comes in and actually corrects it.
It's being adjusted by the money that came in, not what the line should be.
That's right.
Or even you can make a lot of money in the NBA in the regular season when these games are going crazy over in the first half. And it keeps going over. And it's at this point where, if you could figure out the tipping point of where that game won't go over in the second half, you can make a lot of money betting the under on the live, because sometimes they go so high up.
That's right.
And they come back
down. Especially you have a number like a 239 or a 241 number over, something like that. And all of a sudden they hit a bunch of free pointers right off the bat. And that number drops to 250 or 255, goes up. And you were thinking 240 might be fair value. Well, now all of a sudden you got 15 more points. You're right. There's a huge opportunity there for that, especially that first few minutes live. If something something happens, that's quite a bit of an anomaly.
Yes.
You know what else is good is this is Daryl. I bet on international rugby. I bet on Major League Rugby here. So it's very few books.
Aussie rules, because I bet on the Aussie rules sometimes.
I don't bet on the Aussie rules. I bet on just the regular Union 15 rules out of Europe. Man, I love the European Champions Cup. I love the URC, which is a combination of teams from South Africa, from Ireland, and Italy and Wales all together. But the sports books in America don't really care about it because there's not that much betting market. So a lot of the numbers can be 3 or 4 numbers off from, say, the European market, because the numbers, the sports book here have much bigger things, bigger fish to fry.
Exactly. I don't know why they carry it.
A bet's a bet. If you win, bets are not easy to win. I don't care what it is. It's not easy to win. Winning a bet is winning a bet. If you can find value like that, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're always doing. We're always trying to seek value, and it's getting, honestly, it's gotten a lot harder since the legalization of gambling, across more and more states as it becomes more and more prevalent, more and more popular. It's gotten a lot more accurate, I find. There's more eyes watching it, It's kind of incredible.
It's gotten much better. You look at the NFL numbers. I don't know how anybody wins in the NFL. For those guys that can, God bless them. I know some guys that do it. They're just different level than me. I don't know. It's unbelievable because those lines are unbelievably accurate.
We do a lot of, Vinny and I do a lot of, we could talk for endlessly about betting on the NFL. We do it. And, I've had really good runs, but I mean, it's like you say, it is one of those things. It's really hard to bet on it. I think you got to go the route that you've gone with baseball and try to find a little bit more of a granular approach where you're betting on players. It's just so much more difficult when you're relying on it's such a team sport. It's so much more difficult to predict how, and everything's going to go after, the first 10 minutes of a game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, like baseball, that's one reason I like prop bets so much. Because, I guarantee you nobody's looking at Shigano's line against the Dodgers. What his outline is, what his strike line is, or Michaelis line tonight, today. And so, that's where but I enjoy that. It's like a puzzle to me, trying to find where value is.
That's great. I love everything you're talking about as far as baseball. I do want to move on a little bit. If you want to stick around, John, we want to talk a little bit about the Knicks while we're still going here, because we're about 40 minutes into the podcast. The Knicks have made the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999.
Let's go.
In a move that I personally didn't think was going to happen. Now, there's no way I thought Boston was going to go out as early as they were going to go out. And there's no way I thought Detroit was going to lose to the Cavaliers in the fashion that they did. And then there's no way I thought the Cavaliers were going to fold, like a deck chair the minute the Knicks came into the series with them. I thought that was pretty remarkable. But here we are. The Knicks are in the finals. Vinny, I know you bet the Knicks to win.
That's right. Have them to win the finals at plus 650. Feeling super excited about it.
Plus 650.
Right?
Go ahead.
The Knicks are, I mean, coming from someone who's been a Knicks fan his whole life, and the Knicks were a disaster for 25 years. What a great week this has been, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Monday night was just the culmination of a lot of pain for a lot of Knicks fans, and to be back in it, it's amazing. And this team is just firing in all cylinders. Brunson, Cat. I mean, it's a great time to be a New York Knicks fan again.
They're the deepest team, I think, in the NBA, right?
It looks
right. They're incredible, and they clicked at just the exact right time. That being said, the lines are already out. I can look at the lines for either matchup between Oklahoma City in Game 1 or San Antonio, which both West Coast teams are heavily favored, which I was a little bit surprised about, considering that everyone on every talk show said the Knicks have a very strong chance to win this thing. Brian Windhorst, who's pretty, reliable when it comes to these things, is saying that they have a very strong chance to win the entire thing. But the Game 1 line, what do you think that's at right now for the Thunder?
I would say the Knicks Thunder, I'd say about 7.
Around 7, yeah. So pretty solid, Vinny. The Knicks are plus 205. I should have been wearing my glasses. For the the over under is 6.5, and
the spread's 6.5.
I'm sorry, the spread's 6.5. The over under is 215.5. Just not a lot of respect for New York. How do you feel about that?
I feel that makes sense. The Knicks, no respect at all as it is. The Thunder and the Spurs are clearly the two best teams in the league.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to look at it like they looked at the Yankees a few years ago. That, easy way to get to the World Series, easy way to get the finals. You play who you play. The Knicks are clicking on all cylinders. Will it be hard to beat either the Spurs or the Thunder? Yes. Should the Knicks be the dog? 100%. Something in my gut is just telling me it's going to happen. And, I got to say, because JBL's here, Dan Husen, 11-0 since he said the Knicks, since the Cavaliers series. Right. He's all over ESPN.
He's all over ESPN.
He might have lifted the curse. Who knows?
Wow. I think he lifted the curse. What a talented young guy that is. I don't know if he's a young guy or not. He wears makeup. It's kind of like Gold Dust or Brave Mysterio. He might be 100 years old underneath that makeup and that mask. I'm not sure. But, what a talented guy he is. And I love the fact of the curse on the Knicks. The Knicks are the most exciting team in the NBA right now. I don't understand the NBA as far as, you watch a team one night lose by 3 points or win by 3 points, whatever it is, and then lose by 40 the next. I don't understand the Cavs just folding like they did. So I think there's a lot with the NBA about motivation behind what it is. Now, the finals, obviously, motivation, you don't need much else. But these Knicks crowd, they're going to have the whole country behind the Knicks.
Exactly.
Because there's no real legacy in Oklahoma City. There is a bit in San Antonio, but it's not a real huge sports town. But there's not really in Oklahoma City. It's probably going to be the winner. And the Knicks, there is. It's going to be LA Showtime in New York when those guys are playing the finals. The celebrities are going to come out. It's going to be a heck of a show out there. I think the Knicks got a real shot.
When the Cavaliers were on the road, when the Knicks were on the road playing the Cavaliers, there were 10,000 people in Herald Square.
Oh yeah,
celebrating the Knicks wins. It's wild. It's a complete. The city is going to shut down for this entire series. Whoever
they are, and how great is that for the NBA? That's absolutely fantastic. You got a team in the middle of the country, the Spurs that are the Thunder. That's a really good team, and Oklahoma loves that team. But you've got the biggest sports market in the world in New York.
Exactly.
With all respect to LA,
and after the lowest ratings last year, they needed the Knicks.
Yeah, absolutely. They had low ratings every year when the Spurs were winning it with Popovich. The same thing.
Exactly.
It is. People want to see the big markets.
And the Knicks have been vacant since 1999. And speaking of that, I've got a little quiz. I wrote this quiz for Vinny, but feel free to chime in whenever you think, JBL. So the Knicks, the last time they made the finals was 1999. So the quiz is basically these are all things that took place in May of 1999. Okay, this was the most a movie that I despise. That was the movie that sold the most tickets. Came out in May of 1999 and went on to be one of the biggest hits of that year, but not the biggest.
Not the biggest.
No. 1999.
1999. May of 1999.
This movie came out. A movie I despise.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a tough one. I'll go ahead and give you the answer. It's Star Wars Phantom Menace.
Oh, wow.
The first of the prequels came out.
You despise that movie?
I hate it.
JBL, have you ever seen that movie? What are your thoughts on that? That's
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, don't skip it.
I think I've seen parts of it, but I've not seen the whole thing. After the Star Wars originals, I just kind of lost interest. So
that's how it should be.
I don't think I've seen it.
You just have an issue with Jar Jar. Jar Jar wasn't that bad of a character.
The worst ever. Okay, what?
Yeah, look, as producer, I'll just chime in on Vinny's side here. Phantom Menace is a good movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It's a terrible movie. We've talked about it in detail before. We don't need to go into it again. Okay, what hockey team beat the Maple Leafs 4-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals to go to the Stanley Cup and eventually lose to the Dallas Stars 4-2?
99?
1999.
The Devils.
No.
It
was the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's right. Brett Hull winning goal.
Exactly. So this is basically, they haven't had a lot of playoff appearances since then, and they had an excellent playoff run this year, and it seems like they're going to be here to stay. What Hall of Fame NFL quarterback retired on May 2nd, 1999? Top 5 quarterback ever. I have to say, JBL, you're catching Vinny on an off day because usually he crushes these quizzes. And I made this one. I tried to make it a little bit easier than I usually do. And usually it's much, much harder with dates and teams and win the World Series in 1954. And Vinny is an absolute killer. And I got him again. He
John
doesn't know
Elway.
It is John Elway.
Wow. I had to get one with JBL here. I had to get one. I had to think about it for a second.
Okay. Next question. What movie franchise debuted May 4th, 1999? The 4th movie in the series is coming out next year, October 2027. Franchise. They did 3 movies. First one started in 1999. Then they didn't do any movies for a long time. And the next one's coming out next year.
Next year.
It'll be 28 years later.
It can't be, oh my God, with De Niro and
No.
still, no? Okay.
No.
I'm thinking of Meet the Fuckers.
No.
No?
It's the Fockers, by the way. And you just got us an explicit rating on iTunes. And it's The Mummy.
Okay.
Coming out next year. Didn't you mention that you wanted to see that? No, maybe that wasn't him.
I don't know.
Was Rocky in that movie? Was The Rock in that movie? The Mummy, was that one he was in?
No, he was in the second
one.
The
Scorpion King.
Yeah.
The Scorpion King, yeah.
He was in the sequel. All right, last question. We're going to wrap this up. This
listen, I was so into
Hey
the Knicks
guys,
in 99.
Meet Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Yes, sir. I got a bunch of rescue cats. I got Jack Johnson, Nolan Ryan, and Baby Briscoe named after Gerald Briscoe.
Wow.
Jack Johnson was one of my favorite boxers of all time, so I named him Jack Johnson.
Nolan Ryan, the greatest. And of course the Mets gave up on him.
Yeah, the Mets.
Unbelievable.
A lot of bad choices. Okay, let's wrap this up with this last question. This is another question that you're not going to get. What band's third album was released on May 14th, becoming the highest selling album of the year over both Britney Spears and Santana's Supernatural?
God, I'm definitely because you probably like bands like the Dave Matthews Band.
No, I don't like the Dave Matthews.
You look like a Dave Matthews Band.
I was much more of a grunge guy, but back in the day, it was called. I'll give you a hint. It was called Millennium.
Wu-Tang Clan?
No, you don't know.
Oh, come on, Vinny. I know this one even.
I don't. I'm telling you, 99. I was in high school. The Knicks.
Of course, Jason. It's the Backstreet Boys.
Oh.
Okay, let's move right on from that segment that was absolute failure on Vinny's part. But
sometimes multiple choice helps. So,
yeah. Well, how much time do I have to come up with these? Multiple choice. Okay, so JBL, last week, Vinny and I both made, as we do every week, we made a bet at the end of the podcast. I got mine wrong. I said that Oklahoma City was going to have one win coming into today, and Vinny said that Djokovic was going to win the French Open, which is still ongoing. He did win today.
He did.
So, but the odds are still long on Djokovic bringing it out. Do you have any thoughts on how the French Open is going so far?
No, I'm not good with tennis, and I've used AI a lot. Say in tennis, about 4 or 5 months ago, I was betting when they were in Asia, and I was betting tennis every night when I go to bed, and it did okay. I think it's pretty good at kind of matching up person on person, but I haven't done it lately, and I've been so involved with baseball and haven't got anything with the French.
I got to ask, is there a certain AI you are using to?
Yeah, I'm using Grok Super Heavy, and it's pretty good.
Okay.
It's not, the AIs are not very good with, they say AI is not good at sports. It's not good with day-to-day stuff. It gets numbers wrong. It's facts wrong. It's better when it has to analyze something. It can analyze obviously thousands of
matchups.
Yeah. It can analyze matchups well, and it does really well with person versus person matchup, which is what tennis is. So it's actually pretty good with tennis. If you can put the right question, it's all about the questions you give the AI. If you give the AI the wrong question, it's not going to answer very well.
Tennis is another sport that's hard to bet, because it's sort of similar to NBA. It's a very mental game.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see these people fall apart mid-match, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason. Or if there was an injury, they don't appear to have any injuries. But tennis is
There's nothing worse than betting on some tennis player and seeing him out there yelling himself and yelling his coach in the stands. Like, dude, come on.
Exactly.
Get your psychological counseling at a different time. I need you to sit back here.
I got to be honest. I have a guilty obsession sometimes, like during U.S. Open times, Wembley, to bet just the game matches, like for every set. Yeah, that could either go real well or real bad, real quick.
I've never done well with that. I've never been able to do that. I have to say, have you ever been to the U.S. Open, JBL?
I have been. Yes, got to watch Agassi play there one time.
Really?
Sure did. Terrific evening there at the U.S. Open.
I mean, it's one of the best events I've ever been to. Absolutely incredible. I
was
recommend it to everybody.
Down at the Houston Open when the guy that Jim, the guy who owned the big furniture store down there, had it, and Magic Mac. Macintosh, and he invited me down there, so I'm sitting there, but I got to go backstage, and I saw Agassi play Andy Roddick in ping pong. In ping pong backstage. That's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I mean, these guys, this is insane, and they're just screwing around, the balls are flying back and forth. This is freaking awesome.
I'm sure they both took it very seriously. Those are two guys that are very, very competitive to a fault.
Very competitive, and both hit the ball, especially tennis ball, extremely hard. I got to sit and watch Andy Roddick serve. I don't know how anybody could hit that ball back. It's unreal to see these guys, right up close and see these guys do things.
It's the best. That's why I recommend the U.S. Open, because you can get close. The first days are, when you can go and just walk around from match to match. So much fun to check out. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up for this week. We basically covered everything that we wanted to talk about, and we had a great talk with JBL. We usually do a bet of the week at the end of the week. JBL, while I scramble to come up with something, is there anything that you're looking at?
I look so much the day to day. If I had to take a pick, I would take Oklahoma wins it this next game. I believe Oklahoma's going to probably. I believe so. I believe Oklahoma will probably close it out. And I've got to put a few shekels on the Knicks. I want to be like the rest of the squares and the fans in the United States, and I'm going to put a few shekels on the Knicks. I think, sometimes you ride a magic wave. Sports is like that sometimes, and I think the Knicks have caught lightning in a bottle, and it's going to be an incredible environment. And there's nothing better than Madison Square Garden, and it's going to be awesome for those home games.
And what could be better than a incredible series, an incredible NBA Finals between two great teams? No offense to you, JBL, I'm gonna take the Spurs in this game. The Spurs are favored right now, and I was blown away when I saw that the Spurs were favored. The game is in San Antonio. I think that they're gonna basically squeeze out one more win before they're sent home by Oklahoma City. I think it is going to go to 7. And I think that's a bad sign for the Knicks because the Knicks, once again, are going to have a lot of time off. It's a real bummer.
I don't think nothing is going to stop the Knicks. And my bet this week is Arsenal in the Champions League championship against.
Interesting.
Yeah. Go a little. They're plus 220.
See, I wish it's been last week because I had Bordeaux in the rugby championship and I was confident of it. And they just boat raced the boys from Ireland. It was unbelievable. Some physical guys. And I saw that their main prop this week, because now they're going back to play league games. And he had the 2 cups from the championship, and he's doing a dive in the swimming pool. He's got them on his scooter. So needless to say, I bet against them this week in their in their cup game. I think they're going to have a lot of fun this week celebrating that championship.
Wow. I got to start watching rugby. I love rugby.
Rugby's great. The Aussie rugby is fun too, man. It's
Aussie rugby is probably more fun to watch. You know, the Union rugby, if they get tied down in scrums and some different stuff, it can get a little boring.
I mean, I'll be honest with the Aussie. I just love to bet the overs. I really do. Those games get crazy.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week of If I Was a Betting Man. Make sure you check out on Twitter at 5bestbets. You can check out the incredible amount of bets that JBL places on baseball every single day. The Have More Money Now podcast, which I checked out and I really enjoyed. I'm a big financial podcast guy, so I'm definitely going to add that to my roster, JBL. And also Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw.
It's a great podcast.
I know Vinny is a fan, and did I say best 5 bets? I did. So, and that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you next week on Buzzer for If I Was a Betting Man.